Hello and welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. My name is Alfonso Peluso and I'm a Studio Associate Professor in the College of Architecture at IIT, the home of the legendary Mies van der Rohe, and I'm adjunct faculty at Columbia College Chicago in the Interior Architecture program. Shout out to all of my students. I hope you're having a great day. It's a end of summer day in Chicago. It's a little drizzly today, but the temperature is really nice. So I hope you're having a great day and enjoying the weather wherever you're at. Today's video is going to look at an assignment for my Columbia College students to draw a plan and cut some vertical sections through their bedroom. This is a beginning of the semester exercise, so for all my students who are starting out your semester, I hope you have a great semester. I know that it's going to be a good semester for me. Alright, so what I think of when I think of sections through a building, when I think of laser cutting sections. So that's what this one is about, laser cutting sections. I always think of the Bank Restaurant in Boston. I don't think it's still there, but there's all kind of photos of it on the web, and especially this one, you can see these ribs that are these vertical sections going through the restaurant. So that's kind of my inspiration for this exercise. See some drawings here of that project. Alright, before we jump into the tutorial, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? Go and search me up on YouTube and click on subscribe. Click on the bell to receive all of the notifications. I'm getting close to 10,000 subscribers. That's going to be a great milestone. I can't wait for that. There's something here for everybody, so go ahead and check it out and get what you need, basically. Also, connect with me on Instagram at my first name Alfonso _ my last name Peluso, looking to grow my Instagram channel, getting close to about 2,000 followers. See what I'm up to with my students, see what kind of work they're doing, see what I'm up to with my family. We recently took a road trip to New York, so that was a lot of fun. Alright. So let's take a look at what we have here in AutoCAD. So right here, this is to full scale. So at the end of the day, this model is going to be about 11 inches long by about 10 inches tall. So that's going to be the size of this model. Fairly decent sized model, actually. And if I zoom out, here we have the floor plan where the purple lines are, and I have these blue lines. I can turn off these blue lines. I have these blue lines. So this is the floor plan here. There's a little door opening here and a window opening here and a little bed in the corner. So pretty simple. You'll want to draw whatever furniture that you have in your bedroom, not just a bed, whatever other furniture might be there. In section, we're looking at a little soffit here, so like maybe hiding some mechanical work or some recessed can lighting. This is the opening for the window. This is the opening for the door that we have here. This is just your typical section, and this section is taken at the bed. So you see you have this raised area for where the bed is. Alright, so let's just jump on into this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open a new file, and I'm just going to use an AutoCAD template for that. Alright, so you might notice a couple things. One is I have the screen that is white here, and if I right click and go to options, I can go to, see if I get it right on the first try. Yeah, under display, I think it's set here from last time. Under display, colors, and then uniform background I have set to white. So let's take a look at that once more. So I'm just right clicking, going down to options, going over to display, clicking on colors, making sure it's my uniform background, and just setting that to white. I like that because it represents a sheet of paper. The other thing that I want to set, excuse me, the other thing that I want to set is the grid. So I'm going to set my grid and I'm going to go to my snap settings. So there's just a little grid icon at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to click on my snap settings, and I'm going to set my snap X and Y. I'm going to set these to 1 foot. So this is going to really help. Okay, so it doesn't like the 1 foot because the units are not architectural. So let's step back for a second. Now let's type in units, and let's change those to architectural. Okay. Now I can go back and change my snap settings. So I'm going to change this to 1 foot by 1 foot. Okay, that's my snap spacing. And my grid spacing, I also want that to be 1 foot by 1 foot. Okay. Alright, perfect. Alright, so what we're going to draw is we're going to start off by drawing some walls in the floor plan. So I'm just saying that this bedroom is 10 feet by 10 feet. I'm going to type in LA as the shortcut, LA for layer. And so LA, enter, and then I'm going to come here and I'm going to make a new layer called wall. I'm going to give it a color. I'm going to make it a color that's not something that the laser cutter is going to be reading. So we're just, for the laser cutter, we're just using red and blue today. So I can make this any color that's not, I mean, we can still use red and blue, but we'll see that toward the end of the video. We have a long way to go before we get there. Alright, so let's make this magenta. This is going to be our wall layer. Alright, and I'm going to turn my grid snaps on, that's this one, and I'm going to draw a rectangle from the origin, which is 0, 0, 0, so it's snapping to that grid where the X and Y axis is, and then I'm going to make this one 10 foot, comma, 10 foot, enter. Alright, that didn't go so well. Let's take a look at what happened there. Alright, first of all, let's make our wall layer current. Okay, now the wall layer is current. Let's get rid of this guy. And let's type in rectangle for my origin. And then 10 feet, comma, 10 feet, enter. There we go. That worked. Not sure what happened the first time around. Okay. Let's offset this wall now. We're going to offset this a distance of 6 inches. So offset, and enter in 6 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and offset that outward 6 inches. Alright, so those are my walls. Then I'm going to put in the door opening. So I'm just using my grid snaps here. They're all foot apart. So I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to draw a line from this grid snap to this grid snap. Alright, and I'm going to trim. So I'm going to be honest with you, it's been a while since I've used AutoCAD. I'm a little rusty. But I'm not sure what version, this is pretty cool, what version it was where the trim just kind of thinks for you. You type in trim and then you go in and select the lines you want to trim away, which I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I haven't seen that, so I'm not sure what version that came out. And like I said, it's been a while. All right, so that's my door opening, and it's not necessary that I need to draw the door in great detail because this is all about a section model. It's not about a floor plan. So I'm just drawing where my door opening actually is, and you'll measure your own bedroom and you'll take all those measurements and you'll draw all those things in the right places that they need to be drawn in. Okay, let me draw my window in here, my window opening. I purposefully want these to overlap so that I can draw a section where there's a door and a window. So let me delete this and draw this up. Draw this window up here. To about here. Alright, I'll type in my trim. Do the magical trim. Still getting a little used to AutoCAD, a little bit rusty. And I'm sure you will be at the beginning of the semester too. Alright, so I'm going to type in the command join and join these together. And do the same thing for these. Love that join command. Not sure how long join has been around. I used to use pedit for polyline edit, but I'm liking the join a whole lot better. Alright, so there you have it. There's our plan. Now we want to draw a couple sections through this. So where are these sections going to be? They're going to be every foot, and they're going to start here at the 6-inch mark. So as some guidelines, you can go to layers, and you could make a new layer. So I just typed in LA, and I could say section guides. And I can make that green and make it current while I'm here. Alright, so I'm going to draw a line. Draw it from the other side actually. So just a straight line there, and then I'm just going to, I can offset that every foot. Let me try to stay in the offset command. Let's see if I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. Okay, so what's one reason to do this that I'm doing right now? One reason to do this is see, well, you'll need to know where the sections are going to be cut, so you know which furniture they're being cut through. Let me turn off the grid for a second. So at the bottom of the screen, I have my grid mode, so I can turn that off. So now I'm going to be taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sections. So I'll have 11 vertical sections through this bedroom. And I'll also know where they're being taken. So this, for instance, this section and this section are through the window and door. This one, I would say, is just through the window. I would make it solid as it cuts through this line right here. And this one here, I would make it solid as it cuts through these lines over here and over here. Okay, so let's just draw a main section. I'll start with this section right here, which I'm going to actually make that through a bed. So I'm going to go to LA for layers, add a new layer called bed, make it cyan, make it current, and I'm going to draw a rectangle from this corner. Okay, so it's a bed. How big is the bed? I don't know how big the bed is. Let me type in twin size bed. Okay, twin size bed, we have 38 by 75. Okay, so 75, comma, 38. There we go. There's our bed in there. So that bed's going to show up in 1, 2, 3 sections. This first section, I would say, just draw the walls. Don't need to see any furniture in that. Just draw that wall outline. It's a wall and the walls and the floors. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. So I'm going to go to LA again, and I'm going to make a new layer. This one's going to be called section cut. Okay. This is going to be an important layer. So section cut, this is actually what I'm going to be laser cutting. So I'm going to make this red. It has to be the red color. Can't be the red from up here, so that's important. It can't be these reds. It has to be the red from this lower left, this index color 1. You see now in the right, in the mid right, it says red, green, blue. Red, green, blue, 255, comma, 0, comma, 0. That's true red. Okay. Make that current while we're here. Alright. So I'm gonna put my grid back on because I'm gonna use the grid. I like using this grid to snap to. Okay, so I'm gonna draw my first couple lines here. So let's see, type in polyline, and I'm gonna draw the inside lines using the snap. So from here to here, I'm gonna go up 8 feet and back 10 and C for close. Okay, so there's what my outline looks like. I'm gonna offset this. I'm gonna offset it 6 inches. I'm gonna do another offset, another 6 inches. So let's turn off the grid. So the walls, I want those to be 6 inches, but the floor I want to be a foot. So I'm just gonna, I know I drew polylines and they're all closed, and that's great. These are all closed join lines. But I'm going to explode them. I'm just selecting them and just typing explode. What I like about this exercise is we really get to use a lot of the basics of AutoCAD, like drawing polylines, setting up layers, setting up units, the grids, the snaps. Now we're going to look at fillet, F-I-L-L-E-T, fillet. And when you first use a fillet, its default is 0, 0. So I'm going to fillet this line. Let's see, how do I want to do this? This is that. This one is going to go to here. And this one is going to go to here. We'll see this in a second. Repeating the fillet. This one is going to here. And this one is going to go to here. And I'll describe this. Okay, we can get rid of this. Get rid of this. So what I can get rid of this one. So what I have here is I have this so that the walls are 6 inches. Those are on either side, and the ceiling is a foot, and the floor is a foot thick. All right, that's fabulous. Now, you saw there was a little soffit that I had in there. So not everyone is gonna have a soffit, but I'm gonna go ahead and put a soffit in this one. So I'm gonna put my grid back on and draw a soffit. Zoom in a little bit. Alright, turn my grid off. Use that magical trim. Alright, I'll go ahead and delete this guy. Alright, now I'm going to use my join command. Let's see if it joins all these. Should be an inside one and an outside one. Alright, now I need to show where this bed is. So I need to draw some lines down where the bed is. So I'm going to draw a line down from there. That's where that bed is. And bed height off the floor, I'm not really sure, but I'm going to draw it at 20 inches. You guys can measure that in your own spaces. Alright, which one is the 20? When in doubt, take a distance. Snapping to my grids. Okay, it's the bottom one. Alright, so I'm going to fillet this. Fillet. Trim this. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this line. Alright, I need to trim between the bed. Oops. Still used to the old way. Alright, so that's what that section is going to look like. So that's the section through that first green line that I'm highlighting right now. That's what we expect to see. A little soffit in the upper right, a little bed in the lower left, walls at 6 inches, ceiling and floor at 12 inches. Alright, I'm going to join this together. Alright, so we have an outside and an inside. So labeling these with some what's called engraving, vector engraving. So we're going to label it with a letter so that when we assemble this together, we know where to place it. We don't get them out of order. So that's going to be really helpful. So I'm going to type in LA, and I'm going to make a layer called text engraving. I'm going to make that current. I'll make that blue. That needs to be a true color blue, so 00255. Alright, so that's a true blue. Okay, so what's my text going to be? I'm going to type in mtext, and it says specify corner. I'm just going to pick a corner. Then it's, I guess, the direction of it. Okay, so it's going to be really small. It's doing it at 3/16 by default. But I'm going to call this A, capital A, and I'm just going to click out of it. And it's there. And I'm going to scale this thing. So it's 3/16 of an inch. Let's try this again. Let me turn off my grid snaps. Okay, grid snaps are off. Let's go ahead and scale this. Why it looks like it's stretching it, but shouldn't be this challenging, but there you go. That's my AutoCAD rustiness. Keep on a trick, click and drag, and I'm sure you can. Alright, so that's that. That's going to need to be a little bit smaller because I'm not always going to have that bed. Alright, let's scale that one more time too. Alright, so I'll scale that. Try that one more time. Base point. I'll keep scaling back to like the original size. There we go. That's perfect size. All right. Okay, so there's our first section. Perfect. Yay. All right, let's draw one more section. So let's go ahead and copy this over. So I'm going to select this and just copy it over. Okay, so for this one here, I'm going to go ahead and explode it. And what I'm going to do is set it back to like a regular section. So I'm going to use some fillets. So this is going to go across. And I can get rid of this. And I can get rid of this. So this is like a base section. Probably a good one to have. Probably one that I could, you know, if this is A and then B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Here's a section. That's what a section looks like through J, where it's not through the windows, it's just through the soffit in the upper left. All right, so let's take this and copy it. I'm going to double click on that. So that's going to be J. Okay, so this is going to be through the window and the door. So this is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We'll say it's G. All right, so I'm going to turn my grid back on, and I'm going to draw a line where I think the door would be. So let's see here. Get this snapping to the grid again. Not really snapping over to the grid. Why? I think I turned it off. Yeah, sure did. All right. So the door height, you want to measure your door height. It's going to be probably about 6'8". So I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to put my window over here. Typically the windows are the same height as the door, but I have that soffit there. Put my window. So you want to just take some measurements. I'm just freestyling this. Okay. All right, so I'm going to trim these away. I'm going to trim this away, but I'm going to fillet this. Oh, darn it. Okay, let's draw a line, see what happened there. And let's trim. Magical trim. And use fillet. Fillet again. Alright, I'm going to join these now. Alright, so you see it goes pretty quick. I mean, I have 11 sections to draw, but I've already drawn 3 of them. So some of these sections might be duplicates. They might be very similar. If they're not cutting through any furniture, they're going to be the same. So you'll have some duplicates. I would suggest in this case labeling this bottom and this top, because they're going to come out of the laser cutter not as one piece. So I'll call this one G1, and I'll copy this up. And we'll call that one G2, so we know that those two go together. Alright, so you guys are getting a lot of good direction on this assignment on what to do, so that's really good. Setting you up for success. Alright, so now we're ready to scale down and look at printing to the laser cutter. So I would say that's part 1. So this is a good time to save your file. Alright, let's get into part 2. So what we want to draw is we want to draw the laser cutter bed. So we're using the large format laser cutter, which is 24 inches by 48 inches, so 2 feet by 4 feet, big gigantic one. So we're going to go into layers, and I'm going to make a layer called def points. So a layer called def points, that's a layer that doesn't print. Okay, and I'll make it current. And I'm going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to try this. I haven't tried this in AutoCAD in a long time. I'm going to do at, because I'm not at 0, 0, 0 when I'm drawing this, so I'm doing the at symbol. 48, comma 24. Let's see, 48 in the X and 48 in the Y. It doesn't look like it's working. Oh yeah, it worked. Let me double check that. Use distance. 4 feet by 2 feet. Okay, so that's the laser cutter bed. And that's on my def points layer. Let me make my def points layer black. Okay, so that's my def points layer. Now I'm going to take these sections that I'm going to laser cut and I'm going to copy them and scale them. So there I'm just copying and I'm going to scale them. So we're going to, this model is going to be 1 inch equals a foot. That's the scale of this model, 1 inch equals a foot. So I have to scale these. 1 inch equals a foot, which is going to be, I'll just pick a base point. So it's going to be 1 over 12. 1 over 12. There you go. And I'm going to move these into here. So depending on the size of the material, line some of this stuff up like so. If this was the only 3 pieces I was cutting, it would look something like this. Things can be a little tighter together. You want a minimum of 1/8 inch in between your cuts, so that's a lot more than 1/8 inch in between there. Okay, so now what we need to draw is we need to draw the piece that's going to hold all these together, or that you're going to place these all into. So the holder, we need to have a holder for these. Okay, so I'm going to draw the holder, and what I'm seeing here is this is 6 inches. This first section is at 6 inches away from the edge of the wall. So at scale, that's at 1/2 of an inch. Okay, 1 inch equals a foot. So these are all at a foot apart. These sections will all be spaced at a foot, and this one is going to be at a foot or 1 inch. Okay, at 1 inch equals a foot. So these will all be placed at 1 inch apart, and this is the first one's at 1/2 inch apart. Okay. So let me go to my section cut layer, and I'm going to just start drawing some lines. So I'm going to draw a line vertically here, and I'm going to copy that line. That's going to be 0.5, so 1/2 of an inch. And just keep checking with your distance as you're going. Oh, try this again. There we go. There's our 1/2 inch. Okay, so that's 1/2 inch. And so the material that we're using is 1/8 of an inch thick. So I have to offset this. This is where it gets a little tricky, but just stay with me. I have to offset this 1/16, so 1/2 of 1/8. Okay, I can get rid of this one. And let me just double check. This is 5/16. Let me try it again. Alright, something didn't go right. Let me offset this. Offset, that's why it's important to check. So 1/16 of an inch. typing in the wrong thing there. Offset 1/1/16. Okay. There we go. All right, let's take a measurement. That's 1/8 of an inch. Okay, this should be something 7/16. All right. I'm gonna make this holder just 1/2 of an inch tall. Or yeah, let's make it 1 inch. Let's make it 1 inch, and then the insides will be, and you'll see what I mean by insides in a second. So insides will be 1/2 of an inch. So outside border is going to be 1 inch. So let me take this and copy this. 1 inch. Okay, rusty AutoCAD here. Let's take a measurement of this. There's my 1 inch. All right, let me fill out this. All right, this I'm gonna fill it. Okay, so I'm starting to get the notch. Okay, so now I want these next ones to be 1 inch apart. So I'm going to draw a line from the mid. Just typing in mid. Alright, so I'm going to take this, copy it 1 inch. Oh boy, let's try that again. Take all this, copy it 1 inch. Alright, I'm going to fill it this. Alright, so let's just measure the distance between these two lines. That should be 1 inch. Alright, so we have things working out here. So now, this length of this model, it's 10 by 10, so it's going to be 11 inches is the length of that model. So the length of this piece is going to be 11 inches. So I'm going to take this piece here and copy it over the 11. I'll fill it this. Okay, I should be able to take this end piece here and mirror it. No, let's introduce mirror now. Yeah, why not? Mirror it from this midpoint. Okay. And I can keep, what did I mirror? Must have not hit enter. Let's mirror this over. Erase source objects now. Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to get rid of these. And we can just keep copying. I'm going to keep copying this. 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch, 6 inch, 7 inch, and then there's a line that goes across here. Alright, so this is the teeth, this is the comb. It's much nicer, we'll call it a comb. I'll draw, or I'll join all of these together. And you can have combs on the side, on the sides, you can have them on the bottom. Depends on how stiff and sturdy you want the model. Definitely at the bottom and the top. Not sure if you'll need them on the sides. So there's one of the combs. Did I join that? Yeah, I joined it. One of the combs. Called it a cone. Alright. Alright, so that would be part 2 of this exercise. Just placing the parts on the sheet. That's 24 by 48. Part 3 now is to look at the LaserCut settings. Okay, we're only using red and blue, so that's going to make things easier for us. Alright, so where can you find all things laser cutting? If you go to your email, this is for my Columbia College students, all schools will have some sort of resource like this. So at Columbia College in the email, if you click on the 9 square dots in the upper left, you can go down to SharePoint. I'm going to right click and choose open a new tab, and you can go down to Visual Arts Facilities. I don't know if I click on Visual Arts Facilities. I can click on Visual Arts Facilities, and I'm going to Fabrication Facility 10th floor. So Visual Arts Facilities, Fabrication Facility 10th floor, and then I can click on LaserCutter. This is where you can find all things fabrication facility. I am going to click on LaserCutter, and here are all the LaserCutter documents. So I'm going to look at LaserCutter settings. Okay, so this is for the large LaserCutter, LaserCutter number 1, and there's settings for LaserCutter number 2. They might be a little bit different, so depending on which one you reserve. So this part 3 is what you're going to do when you're at the LaserCutter. You can't do it ahead of time because you don't have the drivers for the printer. You're not at the LaserCutter. So this part 3 is what you're going to do at the LaserCutter. And the material that we're using for this particular assignment is going to be this 1/8 Baltic birch plywood. Okay, so if I was to zoom in on that Baltic birch plywood, here are my settings that I'm going to need. So for my engraving, my power is going to be 30%. So if I look at the top of this document, it's power, speed, and PPI. So power is how bright the laser is, how powerful it is. So when it's cutting through things like paper, the power is very little. It's very low. But when it's cutting things through things that are stiffer, like chipboard, that power gets raised up. So that's power. Then there's speed, how fast it goes or how slow it goes. The slower it goes, the deeper the cut. Okay, so if you're going really slow, you're going pretty deep. And as I'm saying it, I'm looking at the 7% speed, which is really slow for French paper. But that's what they have for these settings. So let's go down to the Baltic plywood. Okay, so this is pretty stiff, so it makes sense that the cutting would be 90% power and 4% speed. It's cutting deeper through it. So these settings look good. So where will we use these settings? Alright, so now back in AutoCAD. Again, these are the settings you're doing when you're at the LaserCutter. So you have your file open just like this. You're going to type in the command plot. Okay, so some things that you want to set here that are really important. One is you want to set the printer. So that's this funny one. It's the only funny one there. It was this ILS12.150D. And as you're going to get a little error message that pops up, and you're going to choose use the default paper size, use your defined landscape. And what to plot, you're going to pick a window, and that's going to be the window of your def points layer. Okay, some really important things here. It shouldn't be fit to paper. That's really important. You don't want fit to paper. You want this to be 1-to-1. And over here under plot options, you want to uncheck both plot object line weights and plot with plot style. So you want to uncheck both of those. And you might get an error when you go to plot saying there's nothing to plot, nothing to print. That's when you want to go back and uncheck this plot with plot styles and plot object line weights. Okay. Alright, we can do a little preview. That looks good. I'll exit this. Okay, now into the settings for the laser cutter, which we just looked at a second ago on that document on the web. So if I go to properties and I go to custom properties, I'm going to go to my manual control, and I can drag and these things around. So I only need blue for my text and red for my cutting. So that's the order that I want to do this. I want blue to be first, because if I do it after the cut, things can be shifted around. So I want to do the text before the cut. Alright, so here's my blue. So my settings, it's going to be raster is going to be my setting. I'm sorry, vector is going to be my setting. I rarely do raster laser cutting. It takes too long. So vector is going to be my setting. My power is going to be, I'm going to check my little cheat sheet here. So my power is going to be 30%. My speed is going to be 30%. And my PPI, which I didn't talk about, is going to be 500. That's points per inch. So the laser actually doesn't cut continuously. It's going to cut in points. And it's going to put 500 of these points down every inch. So if you want something like a dashed line, you could make this PPI say something like 5. Okay, and let me remind you that these are the settings for 1/8 inch Baltic birch plywood. That's what we're looking at. So these settings can be different, will be different for different types of material and different laser cutters. It's important that I click set. Okay, so that's my blue vector. Now my red raster is going to be my cut layer, so I'm going to change that to vector. Okay, and that's going to be 90% power, so a lot of power because I got to cut through it. And it's going to go, now it's not going to go too slow. Now if it goes too slow, then you get a lot of burning on the edges. So you have to adjust between power and speed. If it hangs around too long, you'll get that burning, and you don't want to have that burning on the edges. Okay, so 90%, 90%, and then, all right, let me make sure I get this right. So 90%, 4% speed. Okay, so it's going pretty slow to cut through this. So 94%, and then 700 for the PPI. And then I click set. Okay, so it's just a good idea to check these after you've done it. So engraving should be 30/3500, and cutting should be 94 and 7. And these should both be vector. So I'm going to click apply, and I'm going to click OK. Click OK. Click OK one more time. And click OK one last time. Okay, so that plots it, and that won't go directly to the laser cutter. What you have to do is on the computers at the laser cutter, you have to open up a software called UCP, Universal Laser Control Panel. And then that's where this information will be. That's where the file will be. It's interesting that I don't see the text. So that's interesting. Let's go back over to AutoCAD. Maybe there's something we could learn from this. Ah, okay. I know exactly why we don't see the text. So this is really important, and glad we're getting an opportunity to talk about it. I should have spoke about it to begin with. So it's not going to print that text because that text is solid fill. Okay, it will engrave that text, but it will not, or it will raster engrave it, but it will not vector engrave it. So this text has to be a line text. So if I double click on it and highlight it, this has to be, I'll make it simplex. So I'll just press S to go down to the S's. So simplex. Okay, and I'm going to click out of it. Alright, so I'm going to do that for, I don't need to do it for all of them, but do it for a couple just so that we see it shows up. So simplex. There's other types of line fonts too. Try that again, simplex. Okay, so now those two should show up. So if I type in plot, it should remember everything from my last plot, although it doesn't for the window. Okay, that's unchecked fit the paper. That's unchecked. So it remembered nothing from my last plot. Fabulous. Okay. Let's just, in case, go to properties. I'm not actually printing to a laser cutter right now, so. Alright, so I'd have to reset all this stuff here. So let me just do it. Gotta do it. Because there's something I want to show you guys. Alright, so blue is vector. Blue is, this is my vector engraving, so 30, tab key works well here, 30, 500, set. Red's going to be vector, and that's going to be 94, 700. Set. I'll click apply. I'll click OK. I'll click OK. I'll click OK. And I'll click OK one last time. And I'm going to go over to my UCP. Okay, so there you have the text here. So that's showing up. And a couple things I want to just go over before we end this tutorial. We're getting really close to the end. Is you want to click on the time. So there's an estimate time, and you want to click on start. So that's 5 minutes 28 seconds. Okay, so that seems actually a little long for this. I was hoping it'd be a little bit shorter than that. You know, if this thing's taking an hour or 30 minutes or 40 minutes, then you know something's wrong with that. And so you want to take a look at that. You don't want it to be taking a whole lot of time. Something that could take up time is if there's lines, multiple lines in one area. So this is a command in called overkill. I don't think I have any multiple lines. You can just go through the defaults and type in overkill. I had 0 overlapping lines and segments. I didn't think I did anyway. But overkill is a good command that you can type before you go to do any of your laser cutting. Alright, I think that covers everything. I hope you have fun with this assignment. I think it's going to be a great assignment. And I'll I'll see you guys in class or on the next video.